There we go.
Hello, hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Hello. After 1 week of hiatus, we're back.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, we're ready to talk. We're ready to talk about writing comics.
Writing comics,
Absolutely.
reading
We had to
comics.
take a day off to relax and slip into our food comas from Thanksgiving.
All right.
We needed
Dave's
that.
over here's like, that's an American thing. You guys have fun with that.
Okay. So, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing all right today. I'm doing good. So yeah, just doing what I do.
Doing what you do.
Doing what you do. Doing what I do. Doing what I do.
So,
Yeah, about the same. Just working on stuff. We're doing a writing stream, which is fitting. I've been doing a lot of writing here today, so I have scripted like 15, 20 pages today so far. So
I just had earlier this week. I had a meeting with my artist that went really, really well. I mean, so pages are coming in really, really good. I got the latest inks for the latest page. It looks amazing. So yeah, things are going well on that front. I'm pretty excited about that.
That's the best feeling, man, when you get art back.
Yes,
that you made or from a project you're working on.
It's so amazing, and like you imagine it a certain way when you're writing the script, and you get the pages back from your artist, and like, oh my god, it's so much better than I imagined it. You know?
Oh yeah. Hey, Nicholas Gear, welcome, sir.
Hello.
Howdy.
Is he the creator of the Tin Soldier comic, right?
Yeah. He made the pinup with all the indie characters on it, like a dozen indie characters.
Okay.
Good stuff, man. American Bliss is also there.
Nice.
I don't remember if the Embrace got on there. I know that there was a lot of people on that indie comic.
I don't think the Embrace is on there.
That's all good.
Hey, Paragon Prime isn't on there too, so it's fine. No big deal.
Next time.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, but Michael, you just said you wrote about 20 pages?
Yeah, I've scripted about 20 pages today. So so when I say scripted 20 pages, I don't necessarily mean like written full on 20 pages like a novel, but like I've scripted around 20 pages of book.
Yeah.
Because I was at I was at like, early 30s, and I'm now early 50s.
Ooh, and this is for what comic is this again? Sorry.
This will be for my book Promikoi, which there is not a lot out there for yet because it's literally just started. Really production, and there are some big hurdles to do. But
I mean, I assume that involves a lot of studying and research for historical research and stuff, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Dave knows this about me. I'm a huge history nut, and the Iliad has been a lifelong passion of mine, and my research into the Trojan War and Bronze Age period has gone back about 20 years. Like I really started when I was 10 years old, and I started really doing deep dives into the Iliad and taking a look at the lore surrounding it in post-Homerica, and getting familiar with the other stories that surround the Trojan War. And getting to know more about the time period and the aesthetic, the design, the culture, from both sides. Because in the Iliad, the Trojans are very, very much like Greek,
TV,
like a Greek copy society. But like in reality, they were probably more akin to Anatolian Hittite. So like there's a lot of research that has been done into this, and so this is a very massive endeavor, but it's really exciting. I'm pretty pumped, and I'm excited to kind of showcase a bit more of what we have in the months to come. I need to figure out some stuff first, and I am hopeful to get those things ironed out sooner rather than later. Because
and
this is a lofty undertaking.
Yeah, that's a genre that's not explored a lot in comics. Historical kind of fiction, I would say. I mean, is this fiction or more historical drama in comic book form? How would you describe it?
I would say that it's kind of like historical drama in comic book form. The big thing is that when it comes down to the Trojan War, there's debate as to whether or not it even happened, or at least whether it happened to the scale that we see in the Iliad and what have you. Like there's massive debate on that. So we're talking about a conflict that, for all intents and purposes, could never have even existed, or that at least what we understand as the Trojan War could have been even like small little proxy wars that predated our the collection of information, or that we lost the information about during the Bronze Age collapse. That's one of the things that a lot of people don't really understand, is that the Greek culture that we know from the classical period of Greece is not the same culture of the Mycenaeans that allegedly went to Troy. It was very different culture. And shortly after the Trojan War, if we were to believe what the timeline that allegedly took place in, shortly after that was the Bronze Age collapse. So like all of the Bronze Age civilizations that had kind of risen during that point in time just got utterly destroyed. And like we the writings from that time are written in a script called Linear B and Linear A, and we're still unable to translate them. Like we don't know we're still working on just figuring out what those characters are in a lot of circumstances. So it's something that like there is a level of research that you have to do, but there's also a limit to what you can do, because there's also there's a limit to what we know.
Right. You have to fill in the blanks.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, but that's a genre that should be, I think, be cool to explore more. Creators explore that kind of stuff more historical kind of fiction comic stuff would be pretty cool.
Yeah, this is something. First, let me say hi to Mike Jimmy. Welcome. This is something. There are some things I cannot write, and what you're describing, Michael, is one of them. You have this knowledge. It's like, it's not just the book right now that you're writing. This is the result of decades of research and interest in the subject. So books like this or medical dramas, like in hospitals, I can't write that.
Yeah, I can't write that. I can't do that stuff either.
Yeah.
But that's just more credit to the people who can write that stuff,
Oh, right. Yeah. Of course.
But Dave, your cat there is like craving a lot of attention, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the girlfriend is not at home right now.
Okay.
So usually he goes with her.
Gotcha. So yeah, I mean, I can't write that stuff either. But I have great respect for the people that can. That's amazing.
It's the same thing. Sometimes you need to find the right writer for a specific topic, because not everything can be written by everyone. That's a given. And this is why, for instance, Michael.
Like I can't write horror. Yeah.
Oh, right, horror. Yeah. You dislike
horror. Yeah, I can't write horror. Like I can't. Like it's not something I enjoy a lot. And and I can't really write it well, because it's not something I like that much. So.
Yeah. I think
like it's
you need
definitely
to like it.
difficult to go into. I've written like 1 or 2 horror stories, and there are horror elements even in the Embrace, and it's a tough genre to do because a lot of it is literally what not to tell, because the scariest parts of anything horror aren't what are displayed. It's what is left to the imagination of the audience, is like kind of the rule of it, is like you show the build up, but you never show you never show the follow through. You allow the mystery and uncertainty of what happened to be the thing that drives the intensity of horror. And I think that it's very counterintuitive to a lot of writing, especially with us as comic book writers, because like everything is so like we see, when we're writing, we see everything in our heads as like panel by panel, and so like we're trying to figure out how best to show things. But in horror, it's almost the exact opposite. It's how best, like what things should I not show?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, like, I can probably do things with horror elements or mix genres, but straight up horror is not something I can do.
No. Yeah. You have some. I think you do need some affinity with the subject, even if you don't know much about it. But if you're interested, you can learn about it. You can do the research and you learn about it and get intrigued. But if you don't mesh well with the genre horror, then it's best to not go there.
Well, I think we should start discussing what the subject is for today's video, which is about pacing.
This was your topic suggestion.
Yeah, this was my suggestion, because this is something that I'm very sensitive to whenever I read a comic, watch a movie or TV show or whatnot. Is I'm very sensitive to the pacing, how the story flows from scene to scene, from sequence to sequence, how it starts, how it ends. And it's something that I think is very important in my writing, and whenever I do, write or anything, I always make sure that the pacing feels right. And how do you?
So how can you tell if the pacing is right?
That's actually a tough question to answer, because I mean, one person's idea of good pacing could be another person's bad idea of pacing. So it's kind of a feel that you have to just I don't know how do you do that, Dave? How do you make sure the pacing on a comic is it feels right to you?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on the genre sometimes, but in my case, I basically write superhero, so I want things to keep moving and slow down when necessary. So first off, I think it's very important that you have structure, so the story. So you have you have a set page count, and within that page count, the story needs to happen. So it starts here, it ends here, and everything in between can fluctuate. You can build it up. You can put some filler there, some slower moments, some faster moments, but the entire ride needs to make sense. So to me, every page, every panel even exists to push the story forward. So you have to feel as you read it that the story is going somewhere.
And you also have to be brutal with yourself. Like, there could be a scene in there that you really, really like and you really want to keep in there, but you have to take a look at it. Like, does this throw off the flow of the issue? Does it serve the larger story? And sometimes you have to get rid of some scenes.
Oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah. There are scenes in Perfect 10 that I had to cut out because they didn't. They were cool, but if you can take this scene and take it out, and the basic story doesn't really change, then leave it out. It doesn't need to be there. It only slows things down. And I think many mainstream comics nowadays don't really know where they're going or what story they want to tell. So you get like 12 issues of what I consider filler. You know?
Yeah, I think a lot of indie books have that issue too. You know, I've read a couple of comics from indie creators that have that same issue, that pacing issue, where, you know, and they don't have the luxury of, you know, larger publishers like DC and Marvel to, you know, make those kind of mistakes.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's even more obvious when it's bad pacing, when it's in the independent comic, because they don't have the luxury that larger publishers do. So it's even more noticeable.
That's a good point.
So you have to be even more careful. You have to be, as an independent creator, you have to be just more brutal with your work. You have to make sure the pacing is right for your work more than anything from DC or Marvel. I think.
Yes.
And I think that's something that a lot of indie creators need to learn.
Yeah, when you make your own book, this means you have to pay for it. So you have to pay for every page, and you have this artist, and if you look, when you work mainstream, you get paid to write something. But if you have to pay it yourself, or you have to deliver something to backers, to your direct customers, to people who put money in your project, then you better be really good with distributing the resources. So every page should matter. Filler costs money. It costs time. It's useless.
It's useless. Yeah, and you have to, if your book, like I've read comics that are either too short or too long. Like I've read a couple that, like, well, you know, this could have used a couple more pages to flesh out this element of the story, or to flesh out these characters. You know, I felt like it moved too quickly, or it moved too slowly. Although I've actually noticed in a lot of independent books, it's actually that the most of the problems that I've seen with a lot of them is that it moves too quickly. Like the pace is too fast. There's like, I didn't get enough with this character. I didn't get enough investment with the story. I needed more to flesh out the world, to flesh out the characters more. It was, you know.
I think this too is the result of first having to pay everything yourself, and secondly, not being. We're just small studios. We cannot produce books every month, so you don't have the time to tell the story in
a longer form.
Yeah, longer form, stretch it out, you know. So people want to get to the good stuff quickly, and it's sometimes, for instance, I'm working on the pre-launch page for Perfect 10 issue 3 right now. And when we started this project, I told Pau, if you continue the series, it will likely be 3 or 4 issues. I'm not sure yet. And while I was writing issue 3, I wanted 3 to be the last one. So like this trilogy. And I discovered that I needed one more issue. So I told Pau, it's for the better that we put this extra issue there, so I can take my time. I was almost falling into that trap of hurrying up. You know, you have to be really careful.
You have to be very careful. And so, Mike, what do you think?
I mean, I think that you guys kind of hit the nail on the head with it. Sorry, I'm like, it's been a long morning. But anyways, I mean, pacing and narrative is the heart of storytelling, right? Like, you can have really good dialogue, you can have a whole bunch of really great elements, especially in comics. You know, you can have all these great elements, but if you don't pace your story, properly and you rush it, then it's very easy to get lost. And it's really interesting because, like, when Dave told me, because I've known Dave for what, like almost 2 years at this point.
Yeah, a few years. Yeah,
pretty close. And when I read the first issue of Perfect 10, I was like, this is fantastic. And when he told me that he was only planning on doing 3 issues with it to do his for that storyline, but that, like, he had other plans, but like for right now it would just be like those first 3 issues. I was like, man, I don't know if I could wrap up a storyline in 3 issues. And it was one of the things that, when I came on to American Bliss, and I told him, yeah, it's first of 5 issues. He just went, 5? Really? And I was just like, yeah, man, I don't want to, I want to make sure that I hit all the story beats that I want to hit, and do it in a way that doesn't make the readers feel rushed, that allows our artists to really stretch and make as dynamic of pages and panels as we possibly can, because like that's part of it is, I have X amount of pages to work with per issue. I want to make sure that by the time we get to the end, everyone feels like they have that quality of investment, and they if it allows, we get more. Like I've told Dave that if he wanted me to, I could keep writing American Bliss for him however long he wants me to. I could probably come up with more stories for her on the fly.
I do think though that it's important that the ending, so you have this goal.
Yeah.
And it can't be, I think, for indies, at least the way I do it, it can't be too far away. So I won't plan stories for like 12 issues. That's like 6 years of my life, I want to tell the stories the best that I can, and then move over to new stories. I have so many stories, that's basically my approach.
Yeah.
Some people like the longer stories, but if you can do it monthly, sure. We will make ongoing series. But
I hope you get to that point, Dave. I really do. I would love
sometimes.
I would love to have American Bliss on a monthly basis. That would be amazing, because I love that character, and I want more of that character. And I'm very excited about Mike writing it. I'm excited for when that launches. I am so into that. So, I want to get to that point. I would love to get to that point. That'd be great. I mean, I the way I think about my universe and the way I structure is like a DC or a Marvel, where we have monthly books, coming in. I mean, I know that's not very realistic at the moment, but it's how I imagine it, in a perfect scenario.
Right. Yeah.
So, Mike, how many issues of the Embrace do you have in your head?
Right now, the Embrace is like 5 books. Like it's very, very short, very contained. Like when I decided that when I was initially looking at doing it, the Embrace, I really wanted it to be very similar to the Crow in that way, where it's like you could collect. I mean, I've got the 10th anniversary of the Crow right here, so I'll just pull it down so people can see. Like this is the end. Oh, I guess I'll turn on my mic on my camera, because you kind of need it. So this is like James O'Barr's The Crow, and this is the 10th anniversary edition, which has additional pages and a new ending and everything. It's absolutely gorgeous.
So it's like a director's cut or a creator's cut or whatever?
It's the special edition that James O'Barr did for his 10th anniversary of the book, or 20th anniversary. I can't remember which one. It was when he hit one of the decades. And he added a whole bunch of material that he did not put in the original book, because it was just too raw for him, and he couldn't handle it emotionally. And one of the things that he added was a new ending. And I actually think that the ending he added in this edition is better than the original because
okay.
it actually brings closure to Eric's arc, as opposed and it gives a lesson to the overall thing, as opposed to it just being him reuniting with Shelley the way that it was in the original book. There's more weight to what happens at the end of this book, where he kind of has a conversation with the bird about everything that has happened, and it's absolutely incredible. But like, is like I wanted it to be its own little self-contained story and everything, and the Embrace has since blown up, and a lot of people want a lot of Embrace. Now, I'm not going to extend the journey of Clarence and David. It ends in these 5 issues. Like, it goes through its journey. I know how the Embrace is going to end, you know, and there's a point where that ends. But you know, otherwise,
I guess you answering whether or not it can continue would be a spoiler in itself, right? I guess that's what you're getting at.
You know, I won't say it like it, but like the big thing with the Embrace is that it's not something that's just contained to two separate two characters. You know, this is something that I can expand on, and we can do other versions of the Embrace and what have you. But like, the journey of David and Clarence has an expiration date. There is a final book with them. There will be a point in time where, you know, the dynamic between these characters, I won't say end, because the bond between a father and son goes so much more beyond than anything else, or a parent and their child at all. You know, like, there's that will never end, but it transitions, it changes, it moves forward. And that's part of Clarence's journey is learning to accept that change.
Right.
So, like, you know, there will be an end to that story, but like, the way that I see it is that it's 5 issues, maybe 6. Like,
I think regarding pacing, for the Embrace, it's a typical book for fast scenes versus very slow scenes. They have the same weight, but in different ways, you know.
Yeah.
So the slow scenes, you need to take your time for things that matter to the characters.
Yeah.
So, like,
100%. And, you know, Clarence's grief, which is effectively like the first 8 pages of the book, is kind of just seeing Clarence's life just fall apart. Every single one of those pages hits you harder and harder every single time you turn a page. It just keeps getting worse, and by the time you get to page 9 or 10, like, it's a really rough thing to watch. You know, Kemosabe Returns did a review of it, and he was like, you know, when you're seeing this stuff happen, it's like you're intruding on somebody's personal moments. It's very well written, but it's almost uncomfortable, because you see all this stuff and you feel like you're intruding on somebody else. Like, you're intruding on a real person's pain, and you wonder whether or not you have the right to see it. And then it turns into a superhero book.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it. I really am.
Well, that's quality writing, man. When you can get the reader to get invested with your character and feel along with them, that's important. And it doesn't need to be all spectacle. It has to have heart also.
Yeah. Well, one thing I've noticed about you, Dave, in particular, with all your posts on Facebook and whatnot, is that you place equal importance on writing and on good art. To you, they're parallel to each other. And I wish more creators thought that way. I really do. a lot. There's a lot of people in the indie comics world. They what's the word I'm searching for? They place a they I know they place more importance on art than on writing and story and characters.
Right. Yeah. Well, you had those periods too with the 90s comics with Image Comics like Youngblood. It looks great, but story-wise there's not much there, you know?
Yeah. And the thing is though, I know you, Dave, and I know I forget his name right now, Eric, the guy who did Shadow Sentry, which is a great book, by the way. Have any of you guys read Shadow Sentry?
No.
No, it's amazing. He book 2 is on demand now, but it's really good. So I know you, Dave, you have some influence from the 90s comics, and I know that. But you take it an extra step. To you, story is important.
Yeah,
also,
well, yeah, the thing is I have all the Youngblood books, you know, because they look awesome. And then I read them and there's nothing there. And that's a giant mistake, missed opportunity. When you ask people, who is this character? Can they tell you something about them? Who is Shaft? Yeah, the leader of Youngblood. Okay, what's his story? No one knows. He doesn't have one. It's all spectacle without substance.
Mhm.
And I don't want that. I have actual stories to tell.
And a lot of comics now in the indie scene, they've taken that philosophy of the 90s comics and they just transferred it onto today, where it's just all about flashy art and there's no substance at all with the story of the characters whatsoever.
Right.
You know.
And of course the art is very, very important, because the art is what makes people pick up the book. No one will read your story if it doesn't look good.
Exactly.
That's the thing with comic books.
If I wanted a good story with meh art, I would just read a novel instead. You know, or if I wanted just really good art with meh story, I would just get an art book or something.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So
that's true, man.
You have to strike a balance between the two. You have to.
By the way, talking about good art, I wanted to show you guys something. A little. What do you call it?
Preview.
Review. Yeah. Review.
Preview. My goodness, spoiling us.
Preview.
And Michael needs to wake up. So.
No, I'm juggling some stuff well as participating. I'm sorry, guys. It's just one of those things where something came up like midstream, and I was just like, I gotta handle this.
Oh no! Oh, okay.
It's nothing bad, but
that's good.
It's something that I was like, I want to make sure that I have this handled, so I'm not like forgetting to do it.
By the way, Dave, I like the Genuine Comics mug. Who did that for you?
Oh,
I can see it in the back there.
Yeah, I got that for my birthday.
Oh, okay,
that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, so a friend of my girl, she had it made.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Okay, guys, let me show you this, because within a few days I'm going to launch the pre-launch page for Perfect 10 issue 3. Hey, Marinus.
Dark Side is Comics.
Hello.
Welcome.
Good guy. I like him a good deal.
Yeah, just in time for the big reveal, because this is the first time I will show it. The cover of Perfect 10 issue 3.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's completely done. It's completely. So here we go, guys. Kapow.
Oh,
damn.
That is awesome.
Good. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, no kidding, Dark Side.
Wow.
What a way to.
This is. I can zoom in maybe a little bit so you can see it better here. I love the simplicity of the logo. Elegant, nice and simple. And I removed the the credits.
Uh-huh.
The other covers had credits here or here, and it just didn't feel right to me. So I wanted the clean version. So
Man,
this is
Pow is a freaking rock star. I just
man.
I love his art.
And we sometimes forget to mention, but Daniel Rodriguez, the colorist,
Yes,
man, he's fantastic, and he
is
delivers,
fantastic.
man. He and Pau just work so well together. And what I love about this cover is that you see some conflict, you see some things going on. She's in trouble. You see here, this is unimportant character. It tells so much, and you want to know more. It's I love it.
Yeah. Who are your influences for comic book covers? Like, is there any era of comic covers that you draw a lot from? Any particular artists, any particular books?
No, not.
Or just kind of all over the place. Okay.
Yeah, there are some covers that I really love. Some legendary covers to me, my personal faves. But they're from the 80s, the 90s, 70s even. So
Yeah.
It varies.
That looks incredible, and you're making it harder for me to make a decision on whether I want Pow to do that art for me or not. Because that looks amazing.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
Yeah. That's your decision to make, man. But
I know. It is.
Yeah.
That looks great.
Okay, well, that was it. So
that looks amazing.
Great. I just wanted to share that with you guys. I was
so
excited about it.
You should think about having Pow do an Embrace variant or something, some promo art or pinup or something. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. I also we're running out of copies of Perfect 10 issue 1. Because I have the web store now, so people will order, and I noticed. I need to be careful now. So,
well, what I'm gonna do probably is I do want to read Perfect 10. I'm gonna wait till you come out with a collected edition of that, because I know that you're gonna do that. I know you're gonna do that. So,
well, who knows? Yeah. That will be like 2 years from now. You have to be patient.
Yeah, I can be patient. I'm good.
Yeah.
So I'm probably gonna get like. Can you hear us, Michael? Because Michael, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
All right.
He's just in the middle of something. Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. What was the question? Sorry.
No, there was no question. There was favorite covers or inspiration.
Oh, favorite covers. Oh man. Of all time or just current?
Of all time.
We didn't really specify that.
So of all time, I would have to say,
Mariners has favorite covers also.
I really like Kirby's New Gods #1, like the fourth world with Orion flying towards the cover. I really like that one.
So you like the fourth world?
Yeah, no, I love Kirby's fourth world. I actually have the entire collection somewhere.
Let me show you something.
Yeah, I know you got it. You got it for your birthday. You posted it up.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. You got the hardcover version. I got the cheapo soft cover one.
Look at this.
Yeah, look at how gorgeous that one is.
That's great.
Oh,
let me enlarge it.
Oh, you got the John Byrne one.
This from John Byrne, man. I'm a huge John Byrne fan. And
he's fantastic.
I didn't have anything of the fourth world by John Byrne, and it was collected, and I just got it. It was fantastic.
That is beautiful.
I'm sure it is.
That is beautiful.
And I had set it aside for today because I was expecting Ron's question, what were you reading this week?
Oh, yeah.
And this is it. This is it, man. This is every page is just masterfully done. Look at this. It's fantastic, man.
Looks really good, yeah.
It's so heavy too. It's like all forward introduction, then the story starts, with this. Oh no, wait, this is the cover. This is the cover of the first issue, and then the story starts.
Wow. Oh my god, that's really good. Is
Yeah,
that Metron? Metron, right?
I don't know yet.
I think that's Metron. That character there.
Yeah. I think his name was Metron. I forgot what his name was, but all this stuff was kind of new to me. I wasn't really familiar with the Fourth World, so.
Oh yeah, Fourth World is good stuff. I mean, John Byrne did a really good job of taking that up. And you know, I read the original Kirby run, and yeah.
What are you by
John Byrne is very good with other people's properties, and he makes them his own. And I have some books from him that he made like this decade. It's not that good. It's
well, that's the thing. A lot of writers that I used to love their stuff right nowadays, like Gail Simone did some great stuff on Birds of Prey and on Wonder Woman back in the day, but now, well, So I haven't really. Oh, George Perez. Oh my God, George Perez is like God tier to me. I love George Perez. It's amazing. But I haven't had a chance to really do a lot of reading recently. But I did get this recently. I backed this on Kickstarter. So The Empire. I saw it. Yeah, it looks like it'd be pretty good. I haven't started it yet.
Oh yeah.
But I got it this week. So this is my latest get. That I got
that, man. The hardcover, it looks fantastic. The printing, the material.
It looks high quality, and the art is pretty good. So, it seems to be like, from what I can tell, from what I was able to read on the campaign, and it looks like space vampires, like vampires from space. So,
yeah. Okay, cool. Vampires from space, right?
Could be kind of cool.
Okay, cool.
What about you, Mike? Reading anything or?
I actually haven't. In the couple weeks that we were away, I got to my local store, and I picked up, because I had already read it and I loved it. I picked up Blue and Gold #4 because Dan Jurgens is amazing. Oh yeah, and it was nice to have
That's the Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, right?
Yeah, and Blue and Gold #4, Dan Jurgens, like the whole issue is like Blue Beetle and Booster Gold are in an interview, and they get into an argument about the first mission that they work together. And so like Dan Jurgens is not only writing the book, but he draws the sections that are told from Booster Gold's perspective. And I'm blanking on the artist that draws the ones that are written that are from Blue Beetle's perspective. And then there's the main artist of the book, and like by the end, Guy Gardner just crashes the interview and tells them that they're both wrong, and tells them and shows them the truth with
those two are fun characters. They really are.
I adore them.
They're fun characters.
And then the other thing that I read was Batman the Imposter, issues 1 and 2, and the reason why I picked up that book is because it's written by one of the screenwriters for the upcoming Matt Reeves' The Batman. And the first and second issue of Batman the Imposter are genuinely fantastic. They're very well written. They have brilliant art, really interesting story. There was one thing that happens in the second issue that left like a really bad taste in my mouth, but like it more has to do with the legacy of a particular character. But this is also very much an alternative universe and not the main continuity. And so while I have issues with it, this character, what they do with this particular character kind of works because they wouldn't fit in the continuity based off of how the narrative is set up. But otherwise, like the art's really good. The storytelling is very interesting. And one of the things that I really liked was it's like, I feel that one of the big problems with Batman is that everyone wants to try and like ground him in reality. But But if you ground Batman in reality, there are consequences to being Batman that nobody touches with a 50-foot pole. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that like Batman the Imposter does is, while it is not necessarily something that hasn't been done before, it does things in its own unique way. So it is very much a grounded story. But like right off the bat, Batman's been doing this for a while. And recently, James Gordon effectively got chased out of Gotham politically because it became confirmed that all of these convictions that he and Harvey Dent had gotten through and everything were a result of evidence collected by the Batman. So every single person that he and Harvey Dent put away, and all the judges that were in the process of being kicked out for corruption and everything, got released, and all of their charges were dropped because all of the evidence came from Batman. And I was like, this is if you want to go for a real approach, that has to be, because at the end of the day, in the justice system in the United States here, any evidence that's not collected by law enforcement is not, it cannot be municipal in a criminal court. And on top of that, the other big thing is that in the United States, you have a right to face your accuser. And so if Batman is the person collecting all the evidence on you, and all of these charges are coming from stuff Batman has acquired and not the police department, well, Batman's not going to appear in the courtroom. Right. So it was a really nice take, and I really enjoy the level of intricacy that this writer took with grounding it in reality in a way that was very different than what Nolan did, and was very different than what a lot of other people have tried to do with Batman, Jeff Johns' Earth 1 Batman stories, which got progressively worse in my opinion. I thought it was a very good read.
Hello, Ryu.
Hello.
Welcome to the chat.
So and also I've been I gotta pick up the next issue, but I've been reading Dynamite's Invincible Red Sonja. I've been enjoying that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good stuff.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, looks good.
Yeah.
I think you can ground superheroes in some way, but you don't need to overdo it. Everyone understands that superheroes don't exist. It's not the real world, but you have to ground it where it's necessary. So you have to keep that connection.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between it making it realistic and making it believable. There's a difference. A lot of people don't know the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm. And I completely agree. A lot of what I talk about in particular with that goes back to
I won't read it. I don't even know what that is. So
don't read Dynamite's Sacred Six. Marinus has his own review channel. So he reviewed that series.
But yeah,
so you were saying,
the big thing for me is a while ago. I know this isn't necessarily comics, it's comic book films, but Zack Snyder had this whole thing where he had been he was at I think it was the 3rd anniversary of Batman versus Superman, and was talking about how he was tired of people complaining about how grim his universe was, and the fact that Batman and Superman were killing people and this.
I saw that video.
And he just goes, you're living in the real world. You're living in a dream world, and this, that, the other. And my freaking argument to that had always been, well, it was all right, Zach, let's talk about your quote unquote real world superheroes real quick. And so that was always my thing. It was you can't sit here and try and bash people for liking the fantastical element and escapism that these heroes provide, because they're intangible representations of moral constructs that we hold value in as a society.
And then be like, well, my characters are more real. It's like, really? I mean, Batman's been putting people away in prison, but he's also, going around beating people, torturing them, and the Gotham Police Department's using his evidence actively. None of that would hold up in court. That would every single case that had anything close to Batman stink on it would be called a mistrial. And so it was just one of those things that like I had brought I had always used to like combat that kind of mindset that Snyder and a good chunk of his fan base have. And it was just interesting to see that taken to a story where it's like, yeah, you know what, you're right. If somebody if it got confirmed in a courtroom that the evidence gathered on all of these people were collected by Batman, all of these people would be released from prison.
Yeah.
And it also adds into that whole story element of, well, now Batman has to figure out a new way to do things. That's a new obstacle that he has to overcome, is because he can no longer be directly involved with the GCPD, because doing so ensures that the criminals get away. So how is he going to handle that?
Yeah.
It creates a new level of conflict of man versus society that is really good, I think, in a Batman story.
Yeah, the way of telling stories also really changed through the years. When these superheroes were created, like Superman, Batman, long time ago, these were goofy stories. It was just for fun, just nothing serious. No one took them serious. It's just fun. Look, this guy is faster than a bullet. Wow, awesome. And now everything needs to be grounded and serious and reflect our world. And
yeah, okay. I was talking to, that's a good point. I was talking to a buddy of mine earlier, talking about how DC, like something like a climate change problem shouldn't exist in the DC universe. When you think about it, we have all these people with these amazing abilities and all this technology.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be protesting for climate change. Like, Superman can create icebergs if he wanted to, a bunch of icebergs.
Oh right, yeah, of course.
He could just create them, and they have technology from like characters like Mr. Freeze, for example. They have that tech.
Yes.
They can literally create ice. Like, why is climate change an issue in that universe? It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It doesn't. This is the problem too with making things too resemble
too dependent on the real world
or politics or whatever. That it
I-
doesn't need to. We don't need that. No one wants that.
And I don't necessarily disagree. I think that there are definitely a place for those kinds of stories, but I don't think that they should be the standard of storytelling that they have unfortunately become. I think that one of the big things that has has allowed for comics to lose its audience is the fact that there has been this, and I personally blame, like, as much as I love these books, they are the reason for this. I personally blame books like Alan Moore's Watchmen and Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, because those were the things that because those things were so popular and because those things were so well regarded. Well, now everybody wants to be Frank Miller. Now everybody wants to be, Alan Moore with Watchmen. Everyone wants to make commentaries on the truth of superheroes, or everyone wants to make Batman a deranged psychopath.
Wow. You all know my opinions on this, and you should be proud of me that I didn't go off on a rant when you mentioned Zack Snyder, because
we're both on the same page there, man. I have wasted far too many hours of my life bitching about that man.
Yeah. And the thing about Watchmen, I don't like that take. I'm not saying that Watchmen isn't well written or isn't a brilliant work of fiction well written. I just don't like it.
No, and 100%. And that's the whole thing. That's what I'm saying though, is that it's like and on top of that, Watchmen is something that has been taken completely the wrong way of what it was written, where Watchmen was, while it dealt with serious issues, was parody. Like, it was poking fun at the ridiculousness of comic books. Like, that's the whole thing, was to kind of like do it in a serious way, because Alan Moore is a crazy mad genius. I don't really like the guy, but the guy is a brilliant
and I
writer.
know,
And so I think that people took this thing that was more Alan Moore being a hyper intelligent critique of the comic book genre and took it as, oh man, well every one of these stories has to be these super serious commentaries on society, when that wasn't even the point of the Watchmen in the first place.
I know he's come out himself several times saying he regrets the influence that Watchmen has had on the genre. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And like that's my whole thing, is it's one of these things to me where I feel that there has been this disconnect of, well, we want all of our stories to be serious and this, that, the other, and provide commentaries on X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, look, having like a separate imprint, like DC had Vertigo, or like they have Black Label now, I guess is their equivalent, where you have these more serious, thought-provoking stories, isn't a bad idea. There's definitely a market for it, and there's definitely members of the audience out there. But like at the end of the day, the superhero story should be about inspiring people. It should be fun romances, the way that like King Arthur was, or Robin Hood, or any of these other things. Because like that's the whole point. No one's here to read a superhero comic to provide a political commentary on the global warming crisis. Everyone like that's, you're taking something that is I was actually talking to somebody about this, and they worded this perfectly, because they were talking about the Cowboy Bebop adaptation on Netflix. Like, you're taking something timeless and trying to apply something timely to it. Like the issues that you're trying to focus on in this live action Cowboy Bebop aren't going to matter in 5 to 6 years, but Cowboy Bebop has mattered since the 80s and will matter well past your show.
Yes.
So like you're trying to apply things that are topical to something that is timeless. And when you do that, you create something disingenuous that people are going to forget about. And I think that's kind of sums up a lot of the issues that we even have in the mainstream comic book industry right now, is you have a lot of people trying to bring topical issues into a timeless genre. Literally, we've had stories of heroes and heroism dating back to prehistory, right? The stories of the hero's journey is the great unifier. Every fucking culture around the world has their own heroes, has their own stories that resonate and embody their cultural values and their strengths and everything like that, and even their flaws. All of them have these stories, and superheroes are the continuation of that tradition. But here you are trying to implement topical things to them that frankly won't matter in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, you pretty much said my exact philosophy as to why I'm doing what I'm doing. The comic that I'm doing is exactly what you just said, perfectly.
Yeah.
I might have been quiet the majority of the show, but I'm going to finish out strong. Damn it.
That was strong. That was solid. That was great.
Yeah, there are no stories now. I think the last 15 years, stories that people will remember later.
I think there are a few, but like exceptions to the rule don't make the rule.
Yeah.
Like I think that absolutely people will like it. In the same way the Dark Knight Returns is divisive in the Batman community, Superior Spider-Man is incredibly divisive in the Spider-Man community. People who love Superior Spider-Man will argue that it is one of the best Spider-Man storylines of all time. People who really don't like Superior Spider-Mans will argue about the negative effects that it had on the entire mythos afterwards.
I'm on the latter.
I love Superior Spider-Man. I thought it was fantastic, and I think a lot of people missed what was trying to be done there. I think that the biggest problem that Superior Spider-Man had was its resolution was not handled well. If what happened after Superior Spider-Man had been handled well, then the legacy of Superior Spider-Man would have been this really fantastic thing. But I thought that from a storytelling element, it was really interesting. It was just not what people were expecting.
Right.
But like, you know, I think that is a storyline that people will remember years from now because it is controversial. There are people that really like it. There are people that really don't. And that's actually the nature of a good story, is that it creates conversation, right? You're going to have.
But I think many writers nowadays go in it with this attitude. I want to stir things up.
Correct. And as a result, their work, they might have one storyline that's worth talking about, but the majority of them are crap. I mean, when's the last time Dan Slott wrote anything that was a top-selling book? Superior Spider-Man. Literally, the moment that it moved on from that, all of his Spider-Man stuff past that, all of his, I think he was on Fantastic Four for a little bit. Everything that he has done since then has been progressively worse on the sales chart. It is the only thing that he's a one-hit wonder.
He's a giant ass
literally
too.
Blocks everyone that has a creative difference with it.
Yeah, he's a giant ass.
Darkseid says, my problem with Superior Spider-Man is that Peter lost Parker industry and revolved back to being a nobody without doing
which is what I even said is I feel that if the transition from the if the aftermath of Superior Spider-Man was handled well, then Superior Spider-Man would be fine. The problem is that handling the fallout from Superior Spider-Man was so lazily ham-handed that it doesn't matter how good the actual story is in a Superior Spider-Man. It's ultimately worthless.
I tried reading it. I couldn't get into it. This was after One More Day, which is kind of my line. That was my line. One More Day was my line.
One More Day is absolutely atrocious. But the thing that I really liked about Superior Spider-Man was that you had it was Otto Octavius. It wasn't Peter. Everything being done was Otto Octavius, not Peter. And there were moments where where you'd feel like Otto might actually become a better person, but then he would remind you exactly why he was the villain and Peter wasn't. And that's what Superior Spider-Man really was about, is why Otto can't be Spider-Man. Because at the end of Superior Spider-Man, they have a very similar thing. They have an interaction that's very similar to one that happens at the beginning of Superior Spider-Man in Peter's mind, where Otto gives up being Spider-Man to Peter because he recognizes that Peter is the only person that can be Spider-Man. It is very good. It is a fantastic storyline. And the only reason why Superior Spider-Man has it has lost any of the effect it's had is exactly for what Darkseid's comics is talking about, is the fact that the fallout from Superior Spider-Man, which you could have used for storylines to come with Peter Parker having to deal with the fallout of all of the shit that Otto did, and then even taking the positive things that Otto did and trying to do stuff with it, they wasted all of it with bad writing, because the only thing that Dan Slott had to bring to the table was this story that created a very interesting but controversial conversation. And that's the whole thing, is you have those guys and they do a one-shot storyline that completely sells, and it creates conversations and this, that, the other. But at the end of the day, where's Dan Slott now? He's making tweets about having writer's block and blocking everybody. They had that Marvel interview where they're asking all of his peers about working with Dan Slott, and they're all shitting on the guy. He came up with one really strong storyline that created a conversation. And it was exactly what he wanted it to be. It was very controversial, and I won't say divisive, because I never saw anyone get to the point where they were talking about Superior Spider-Man and trying to end friendships over it.
It's not as divisive as something like One More Day. That's for sure. That was very divisive. That story.
but like at the end of the day, he's not doing anything anymore for a reason. So it was the only thing that he could bring to the table. But I do think that there are storylines in the past 50 years that'll definitely stand the test of time. Ed Brubaker's entire run on Captain America is freaking stellar.
I want to get the omnibus of that, but I missed my chance.
So good. Every single time, if they announced that Ed Brubaker was writing Captain America again, I'd probably like cry. Because Cap has had a rough past 3 years.
Oh yeah. Cap and Superman, both of them. I mean, they just killed Superman again.
Had the Tomasi run for a hot minute.
The Rebirth stuff. The Rebirth stuff is I love the Rebirth stuff.
And that's another storyline that's going to stand the test of time. Tomasi's run on Superman has been over for 3 years, and people still can't stop talking about how amazing it was. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's it. Like,
and I read all three. I read Super Sons, Action, and Superman during that period.
I mean, you had just a stellar team. You had Dan Jurgens doing Action Comics and
Tomasi
doing Superman and Super Sons, and it blows my mind that like DC was like, well, we have a wheel that's spinning really, 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 really well. But let's try and reinvent it with a guy that literally has destroyed Marvel Comics for the past 5 years. Like, what?
Yeah,
like, you have a Superman title that's consistently garnishing 100K plus. Why are we making a fuss about this?
Yeah, well, so many decisions they make that are
not
we can't.
Yeah. They killed him again in the comics. I don't know if you know, the Mongol killed him.
So he got stabbed, but that's not like it's comics.
Wasn't it a kryptonite spear?
It doesn't matter. How many times has Superman been stabbed with a kryptonite spear or a kryptonite anything, and then come back in the next issue and be like, "Yes, but I'm better now. I removed it."
Yeah, but I think
this time was because DC wants to make Jonathan.
John, I know, but like. Everyone here knows this. What was Stan Lee's most famous quote about death in comics? What are the two reasons you kill a character? The sales of the issue where the character dies, and the sales of the issue where you bring them back.
Bring them back. I like when he said, I've guess seen a video about who would win in a fight, and he goes, whoever the writer wants to win.
Exactly. That's literally what it comes down to. It's who does the writer think will sell the most issues if he wins?
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to. It's a business, and like people tried to call Stan out for for comments like this. Oh man, that's such a nihilistic businessman way to sound. I mean, he was the editor-in-chief of Marvel for 30 plus years. So he probably has a creative input on it, but he looks at things from a completely different level as an editor-in-chief.
Yeah.
So
but he would have made the same dumb decisions that people like Dan DiDio are making now. You know, if Stan Lee were still around and he was still publishing comics with Marvel would be way better than it is now.
I mean, maybe
Jim Shooter should have.
Jim Shooter, I think would. Yeah. If you brought Jim Shooter back to Marvel,
yes,
you would have a lot of like harassment, like BS harassment.
A lot of complaints,
through, but Marvel sales would skyrocket.
Because I saw a video.
All of the fans of the older books that Shooter was in charge of as an EIC would have just been like, I'm going to give this a chance because Jim Shooter's not going to let crap go to the press.
Yeah, he was brutal, but we need that. But Marvel needs that right now. Marvel needs the brutality of Jim Shooter right now.
It's just a business. It's work. It's work. You make something for people. You make this product. It has to be good. It's the same when you make sandwiches or bicycles. You know, you need someone to look over it.
Good editors is what they need, and that's the whole thing. Is that all of these comic book writers and artists that are working at Marvel and DC are so used to being mini celebrities and are prima donnas and can't handle that shit. Mitch Gerard, a 40-year-old comic book artist that is a pro, blocked me on Twitter for saying, man, your art in these panels are beautiful, but the layout completely takes away from any of the weight and does not make these panels dynamic, and your art deserves better than that. He blocked me for that.
That's really good That's a really good critique. That's a really good critique. That's a really solid critique.
But at the end of the day, he doesn't like it. At the end of the day, you know, who the fuck am I? You know, like that's these people's mindsets. But back in the day, if you had pointed out something like that to somebody, they probably would have listened to you.
Yeah.
Or at least pretended to have listened to you and be like, you know what? You make a good point. Thanks for pointing that out. And just moved on and carried on with their day. This guy threw a temper tantrum and blocked me. A middle-aged man that went through art school couldn't handle a constructive critique on social media. What does that tell you?
Yeah, you weren't a jerk about what you said or how you said it at all.
And that's the whole thing. And Darkseid is comics saying Marvel comics cannot be saved, in my opinion. I think that there's look, man, all you need is the right person to come in and right the ship. Because if you had somebody like Jim Shooter, it would literally just be like, okay, well, I'm getting I'm going to bring each of these people in and I'm going to ask them, why should I not fire you right now? And if they said anything that had to do with any of their identity stuff, he'd be like, okay, cool. Let's take a look at your sales for your last 3 issues of your book, because we are currently paying you X, Y, and Z amount of money. And you have made us none of that. We haven't even recouped the investment on your salary, let alone turned a profit on these books. So tell me right now why I shouldn't fire you. And if you don't give me a good reason, you will be leaving this office without a job, and you will be clearing out your desk. And you can leak this to the press all you want. I will gladly explain to them that I fired your ass because you couldn't do your job. Your job is to write stories. Your job is to write stories that appeal to people, and you haven't been doing that. Goodbye. And that would be the end of the discussion. And they try and make it all about this, that, or the other, about whatever identity they have. But at the end of the day, none of that shit matters. If you're not writing a story that is compelling to the audience and it is not selling, you shouldn't be getting money. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't be invested in, because bad books are bad books. And what's really sad is that the better books that I have seen from the mainstream industry in the past few years are not the books being promoted. I mean, I was talking about that Booster Gold, the blue and gold book that's going on with by Dan Jurgens right now. That was supposed to be an ongoing series. It got booted down to a limited series of 10 issues last issue. That's Dan Jurgens. This is the guy that wrote Death of Superman, one of the top-selling books that DC has ever made.
Yeah. Dr. Ino is here. Welcome, man. We were just about to wrap up. I think we went over the hour.
Well, put up Darkseid's last comment. I want to.
This one.
Yeah, that's true. They're not.
No, I agree with you, but again, all it takes is the right person coming in to be like, yeah, we're stopping that. But the problem is they're not going to, and neither will DC.
No,
DC hasn't learned either, and they're actively making the same mistakes Marvel's been making for 6 years.
So they will never hire someone in like Jim Shooter. They won't.
No.
That's a whole other thing, and maybe in the next one we can talk about the importance of editors.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that editors are your quality control. Editors are your people that go and be like, hey, I realize that you think this is good, but shut up and don't do it.
Yeah. Darkseid, we're doing indie comics. We're doing.
Yep.
So there's
all three of us are doing amazing stuff.
That I'm writing comics for basically is the little kid in me. I remember when I was 12, 13, 14, the comics that I used to like, and those comics I still like, So that's my audience.
Yeah, that's basically my audience too. Is my audience is myself at like 11, 12 years old. Like I'm writing it for my 12-year-old self and for my nephew right now. he's a big influence on why I'm doing what I'm doing. He's 11 now, so
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. He must be proud, man.
Outstanding.
yeah. He's actually it's interesting. He's he sends me this idea. It's like, oh, you should have a character like this. You should have a character like that, and actually a lot of them are actually pretty cool, and I'm going to incorporate them into my verse because they're like, wow, that's a really cool idea. Wow,
Well,
okay,
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna use that.
don't overdo it, man. Sometimes I see these creations from writers or creators, and they bring in their children to co-create, and you get
Yeah,
these
true,
weird things,
true.
and
And they're
I'm
not all winners. He sent me several of them, and they're not all winners, but there are like 2 or 3 in there that are like, okay, that's actually a pretty cool idea. I like that a lot. So
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, one last thing I want to share with everyone, guys. Sign up for American Bliss Father's Pride Part 1.
Do it.
Yep. I
You
did that
have it
like
already. Do
I
it.
did that all. I did that like the day where you said this was up. Like, oh, I'm gonna do it right then there. So I'm already signed up. But
Yeah, so you can get this awesome Paul Rodriguez cover, and you can sign up right now. And also, the Jamie Comics website is live. You can buy your favorite Jamie Comics right here. So, and I will take care of it immediately.
mhm.
That's how we roll, man. That's how we roll.
Yeah,
So,
I gotta
guys.
I gotta get some comics from your site soon. So I'll do that.
Okay. Ron, Michael, thank you very much for doing this again today.
Yep, this was fun. I always love doing this. It's great. I like
And
this.
thanks to the chat for being here and interacting and watching. Ron, what are you doing this week? What can people expect from you?
See, I'm gonna be doing some comic reviews. I've been wanting to do some more reviews. Want to do a review of Peregrine. That I really enjoyed that book, and also Koki, which is another one that I read. Those are on my list of video reviews to make. So hopefully they'll be up this week.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Michael, you have something going on your channel this week?
I'm going to be trying to set up a writing discussion stream between me and Lee Byron Carver from Company Men about conflict in literature, establishing the different types of literary conflict with man versus, which there are six levels of conflict, and how effective storytellers weave a whole bunch of these different aspects of conflict into their narrative to create a compelling story.
Ooh, awesome.
Nice.
Okay, the links to your sites are in the description, so please subscribe to these guys. And I'll be back this Sunday with a drink with Brink with my guest Joe Catapano.
Awesome.
So,
Joe's good people.
Yeah. I'm so glad that
I'm not familiar with Joe. What has he done?
Star
Circuit. Yeah. On Indiegogo right now.
Cool.
Okay, guys, that was the show for today. See you next time.
All right.
Later.
Sounds good.
Bye bye.
Getting the